I knew that deep down that becoming a mother would be my second chance at life. In my eyes, I was becoming my self-actualizing self. Even when I look at my birthing video and I hear the sounds, I remember feeling like I could go out in the street and like lift cars like I was She-Ra. I was butt-ass naked. And I just felt so infinitely powerful.
We want to extend a huge thank you to Freedom Mom and Nanit for bringing this episode of What's Underneath Birth and Postpartum to life.
Stay tuned till the end of the episode to learn more about our incredible partners and the special offers they have for you.
So can you talk about what your style says about you?
I've been wearing these overalls for 30 weeks.
Oh, really? The whole pregnancy?
The whole pregnancy. I'm not the maternity wear kind of person. I'm not gonna go out and revamp my whole closet. I'm very resourceful when it comes to my clothes, especially with the life that I live. My style has evolved from wanting to stand out and impress and shine to realizing the way that I shine is just being cozy. You can tell when it's superficial and you can tell when it's spiritual.
What are assumptions that people make about you based on how you live here?
People just think that my life is just so honky-dory, that I have some hippie parents who raised me in the garden naked, and that all of these fantastical, beautiful stories that I wish were mine but are not mine. You know, I was raised in a Black home and an Asian home. My dad was a very lovey-dovey person, but sometimes the way I received love from other members of the family was that I'm yelling at you because I love you. And then on the Asian side, it was difficult because their love and my love came from how well I did in society. So I always felt like I had to prove myself to people up until this year, where I've decided not to feel terrible anymore. And that's where I found my power. Because if I was constantly believing the projections or the gaslighting, I would be continuously falling into my depressive state. And a lot of that depression had to do with what other people thought of me. And then a good part of it was just not having my dad, because he was the only one who saw me. I would call him when I was feeling bad. I didn't even have to tell him what I was going through. And he'd be like, "I'm so proud of you, baby. You're such a strong girl." So yeah, this pregnancy, I've just decided that I don't want to be depressed anymore based on other people's assumptions of who I am.
What would you say has been your biggest insecurity around being a mom?
The fact that mental illness exists within my ancestral lineage, and obviously with that, not traumatizing my kids with that. I have a handful of family members who have committed suicide, my dad being one. I myself attempted suicide when I was 14. Fortunately and unfortunately, I am blessed with the task to break those chains in my own lineage. My dad was sent to a mental institution. That's when they did electric shock treatment and all those weird, obscene things instead of just talking to the person. So I think that scarred him. And he raised me to believe in the power of my own self-healing. So I want to raise my kids to be the same. And I work on resolution. I felt like growing up, all I saw was conflict. My father was in a gang in the 60s. And then when I was born, he really decided to devote his life to God and to devote his life to dance. But just because he left the streets never left him. My dad just had a one-touch policy. So if you touched him, then he would knock you out. And these are the things that I saw growing up. And my dad did his best to talk to me about these things. He was such a sad man. He would just cry in my arms and just weep. And if he had done that and not talked to me about it, or we had not prayed together, I think it was his way of showing that I'm not a monster. I'm just hurting. Mm. It taught me to be open like that with my kids.
And where was your mom?
She had to choose between us and her own family. my birth mother's mother would sneak out of her own house unbeknownst to her husband because her husband didn't agree to my birth mother marrying a Black man and didn't agree to me not being a boy. Of course, I would have insecurities about being a mom without having any kind of representation of that in my life. But I'd like to say it's what also empowered me because I got to do it on my own terms.
What has been the process of getting to the place of feeling like you want to be a mother?
Yeah, so 7 years ago, I quit being a waitress and I set a goal of I know I need to get out of LA. So I sold everything. I found this pickup truck. I packed everything in there and I went to Northern California and found a farm where I can do trade for live work. At that time, I do want to mention that I was previously prescribed a lot of psychotropic medications that I was on. I was on Adderall, I was on Ativan, and I remember sitting at my desk, looking at all of my medication, just deciding that I didn't want to be that type of mother. And if I needed to be, I really didn't want to live. So
You knew that you wanted to be a mother?
yes. I knew that deep down that becoming a mother would be my second chance at life. That was my driving force to get clean and try to stay alive as best as I could. Having the idea that I had to live in this world by myself for the rest of my life was pretty scary for me. The bond and the love that I had for my dad was so strong that, I would pray to him, just say, like, I just want to be with you. It's not that I'm trying to like have you come back here. I'm okay with going wherever you are. Just give me the word and I'm there, So finding those reasons to live and find life as beautiful as you once thought when this person was here was difficult. It took some getting used to. And even sometimes now when I'm in my darkest times, I find myself calling out for him. A big part of my journey is allowing my life to take the reins. But at that time, unfortunately, my grandma got really sick. And that was my transition out of that farm environment and into her home, which is the home that I grew up in. To go back to the places where your first traumas took place, I look at that as like the divine or life or your manifestations really saying, okay, how hard are you willing to work for this? Because we're about to go to the underbelly. But that was my conditioning. And I did my working out, I did my yoga, do my meditation every day, and I would just sit at the table and just plan and write out how I wanted to start my apothecary, things that kept me motivated and empowered. I was so sure in myself of who I felt like I needed to be to become a mother. All of this was to become a mother, because I know if I became a mother, in my eyes, I was becoming my self-actualizing divine self. Because to me, being a mother is nurturing self-love, patience, and that unconditional love.
So then you had your daughter. Like, I want to hear about what the experience of having her and like finally becoming a mother. And then
I had Kyoko at home with the support of a beautiful midwife, but we were having some complications with my pushing. And then finally she asked if she can check me. Her looking down there while I was so raw and so deep in labor gave me flashbacks of when I was sexually abused, and I freaked out. Of course, I apologized, and she said, please don't apologize. This happens. I never knew that would come up. I didn't tell her about me being sexually abused. And then we took a beat, and she looked again. My cervix was in the way, so she had to manually, while I was contracting, move, like pull it to the side so Kyoko can crown. That was very, 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 very painful. And then once I got in that birthing chair, I remember her saying, do you want to feel her head? And I'm like, no, 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 I just want to get this thing out of me. I'm so tired. And I remember, even when I look at my birthing video and I hear the sounds, I feel this weird twinge in my gut and I start to cry because we're such powerful beings, right? I remember feeling like I could go out in the street and like lift cars like I was She-Ra. I was butt ass naked. And I just felt so otherworldly. You almost become addicted to that feeling. You're like, oh, okay, I can do this again, because it's that real life reminder of like, oh, hey, I make humans.
What was it like when you first looked at her?
Sometimes I still don't even believe she came for me. You're kind of just like an alien. Like, how can you come for me?
Can you talk a little bit now about your experience now with postpartum?
Postpartum depression, I feel like it just doesn't go away, especially for someone who battles with depression. There are a lot of crying. There was a lot of feeling of unworthiness. There was a lot of me missing my dad. There was a lot of me then being upset at my birth mother and my stepmother. Because how could you? How could you just leave and never come back? Not ever wonder, not leave me a letter of explaining why or your side of the story, leaving me to live my life with so many questions. So, a part of my healing from abandonment and that postpartum really showed me was that I am in control of my own journey and I am in control of how I've received this trauma from other people. And it is up to me to decide how I want this trauma to play out in my life and in my family's life. I truly feel like I've been postpartum up until the next pregnancy. Postpartum is a lot about what are your tools that will ground you immediately. And the relationship that I'm constantly cultivating with my own body and my own sexuality is what has been tethering me to myself. I have a lot of people ask me, like, how's your sex life? Are you still having sex? Are you still doing this? And I tell them, yes, definitely. But we're constantly rediscovering ourselves. We're not going to share ourselves or make love or masturbate the way we did before we were a birthing person and before we got pregnant. So I'm having to open myself up more.
What do you love the most about your body?
But I have a birthing body. To actually be in a mothering body is the greatest gift that I could ever been given.
It really is. It's really healed you.
It's really healed me. It saved me.
When do you feel the most beautiful as a mother?
Pregnant. I think the reason why I love this pregnant body is because it forces you to be in a place of peace. You can't just be like, oh, okay, I'll be peace and love tomorrow. Like, there is no excuse. It's like, no, we got to do it now, because then you start spiraling. Oh my gosh, these stress hormones, and I've been thinking negative thoughts, and is the baby going to get this? And, you start really spiraling. So it holds you accountable.
What would you say has been the greatest gift and lesson that your kids have given you?
Mama, be happy. Mama, be gentle. And Mama, you look beautiful. They have taught me that the better I am, the better they are. The more that I love myself genuinely, deeply, seriously, but also playfully, the happier they are. They empower me and they affirm my existence. And that's okay. It's not that I live vicariously through them or I need them in order to do this, that, and the third, but we're humans. We can't get it from ourselves all the time. We are not always the only source. And I'm being more and more okay with that.
That was just absolutely exquisite.
Thank you guys so
Yeah,
much.
so
Thank you for
beautiful.
asking me all the questions.
Thank you to our partners, Freedom Mom and Nanit, for supporting us and showing the beauty in radically honest birth, pregnancy, and postpartum stories. Freedom Mom is a company dedicated to demystifying the raw realities of motherhood and prepping moms with the tools they need to tackle pregnancy, postpartum, and breastfeeding. Freedom Mom is rewriting the narrative that talking about your postpartum experience is taboo and is supporting moms around the world to feel empowered in their motherhood journey.
New mothers deserve to have access to solutions, tools, and information to get the most out of their postpartum experience.
Freedom Mom is now introducing the Pregnancy Support Line with pain point targeted solutions to help expectant mothers tackle their physical discomfort from day to night.
Nanit is the company behind the world's smartest baby monitor that's helping parents and babies sleep better than ever. It would have been amazing to wander around and do what I had to do when you were taking a nap instead of anxiously having to constantly check on you. Nanit's monitors keep parents in tune with their baby's sleep, breathing, growth, and well-being.
And with real-time alerts, parents can get the reassurance that they need to have a better night's sleep. And parents can find support, advice, and member discounts by joining the Nanit community. Follow Nanit on Instagram and TikTok, and check out their sale at www.nanit.com, where you can buy now or add to a registry for the sale to apply. Make sure to check out your Target Circle for some money off of Freedom Mom's newest pregnancy and C-section line.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of What's Underneath with Synmia.
And for more episodes like these, subscribe to StyleLikeU.
And head over to our Patreon to see the extended cut of Synmia's video.